There it is.
Live, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. One more Monday morning live video podcast, if you will, of the SBAU Astro Hour. Proudly, I'm Baron Ron Herron, your host. We got a lot to talk about with our brain trust of the South Coast Longtime Astronomy and Telescope Club, SBAU, that's Santa Barbara Astronomical Unit. This is program number 43. And I misspoke a week ago and I called it 41. I lost a week, so last week should have been labeled 42nd. We're up to 43, and at 52 in a few weeks, we'll hit a year doing this. Getting together, keeping the club alive, and you can watch us on YouTube. You can make comments. Let me introduce the Brain Trust, the guys in charge on the screen. President Jerry Wilson.
Good morning.
A lovely lady named Pat Forgy. To the right of him on my screen anyway, our outreach coordinator, Chuck McPartland, just also married to a Pat, our merchandise manager, and would love to have an outreach. I guess they've been falling apart, but we're doing something. I'll tell you about it here in a minute. Tom Totten runs our show, webmaster, technical wizard, and former president. On board is Tom Whittemore, former Westmont College science instructor, married to lovely Maureen, and editor of our monthly newsletter, which if you're a member of 200 or 300 members we have, you should have it on your screen. Thanks to Tom, and thanks to, I guess, our treasurer, Colin Taylor. And
you don't even have to be a member.
Huh?
You don't even have to be a member. You can just go to our webpage and download it.
That's true. Our webpage is sbau.org. And here is longtime active member, president of the Santa Barbara Theater Organ Society, Bruce Murdoch, who's got everything. Everybody's on board. I think we got all our problems taken care of. Tom Totten, I'd like you to call up some incredible Geminid meteors over Norway that was sent to us in a little video from President Jerry while I read a couple quick things here. This hour, we're going to chat about the winter sky. I've learned some incredible stuff about how we face outward or inward or different directions in the Milky Way galaxy. We're going to talk about Venus and Leonard. Venus, a planet. Leonard is a comet. I believe Mr. Whittemore has checked it out and seen it. December's full moon is a cold one. I got to tell you, that's right. So winter gives us views of the outer rim of the galaxy. And we'll also go ahead on the seasons, the progress of the seasons, since tomorrow is winter solstice, I guess. And sun hits right over Tropic of Cancer, Capricorn on the bottom. Also, Merry Christmas, Happy Chanukah, Happy Holidays, season's greetings, or whatever. Might even be talking about the Christmas tree cluster. Your added piece for the updated talking points, Jerry, was unofficial constellations and some incredible new asterisms like the winter hexagon. I guess there's also a summer one. You're looking at meteors in the Geminid over Norway, and we're all in the season singing Omicron, Omicron, Omicron variant. We would like to meet again, but the museum says we can't. We did have a meeting on Saturday afternoon, 9 of us on screen. Jerry, what did we get accomplished there? Anything you want to announce to the world that might be tuned in?
We refreshed how our image of each other, we will recognize each other, although 2 years have passed.
Yeah.
So we decided that we're going to give another shot at starting outreach in February rather than January, but that again is contingent upon how the COVID is going, if we think it's safe to do that or not. It was that, and we're going to retry starting our monthly first Friday of the month meetings that we used to hold in Farrand Hall. Is that right? Farrand Hall.
Farrand Hall.
Yeah, but we're going to do it via Zoom. We're going to make it a members night so that we're going to have up to 4 members of the club speak about what they've been doing or what they want to talk about for about 15 minutes each on the first Friday of February at 7:30.
That's February 4th, 7. You say 7:30 or 7?
7:30.
Oh, 7:30. Okay, so the notice will go out to everybody in the club. We have what, over almost 200 members, around 200?
Yeah.
Some are out of town and they can all watch. They don't have to drive to Santa Barbara, and they can I'm not sure how it works, Tom. They don't get on the screen with us, but they can watch, right? What is that called? That's not a Zoom.
It's called a Zoom webinar style.
Webinar style. So most of us will probably be on board for running the program. I know you, President Jerry, and Chuck are scheduled to speak, and all we got to do is fill 2 more. But heck, I got a month and a half.
If not, we can each talk a half hour.
Oh, okay. And then if we hold our breath, that we'll have a meeting in March, a live one or back to the screen, you know.
No commitments yet. It's all dependent on the pandemic and what's safe to do.
Okay. Well, I got a list. I'm keeping my list and checking it twice of all the people that are knowledgeable and nice, including that gentleman that Chuck met at Vandenberg that is involved with scrubbing the missions or weather or
He's a meteorologist for the launch complex.
Is that what it is? Okay, let's talk about real quickly. Whittemore, you spotted our visiting comet out by, where is it, Venus, the other night?
Yeah. Saturday night, Maureen and I both saw the comet through small binoculars, bird binoculars from the backyard. It was south of and to the east of Venus. It was passing by a quartet of stars, I think, right on the edge of, say, Capricorn and Sagittarius. Okay. Again, it was probably around 6 magnitude at best, maybe 7. You could not see it. Even we had a beautiful, beautiful sky here Saturday evening, but you could not see it until the redness of the horizon disappeared. But we did see it. Before that, when it was a morning object, we saw it about 3 days in a row. And again, I'm talking about a little fuzzball in binoculars, no tail. If you had a telescope, you may have been able to see a tail when it was a morning object. It's hard for me to imagine you could actually see a tail in the evening because it's really at the mercy of the glow of the sundown. Okay. But it is moving from right to left, or if you like, from west to east, just kind of hovering over the horizon. So again, at the mercy of the glow, you know.
Yeah.
But it was fun to see a comet, even though it was, it was like a little fuzzy ball. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it was a picture sent by Jerry, but I saw it on I guess YouTube, a shot, and the tail was pointed straight up. Is that accurate? Straight upward?
Really accurate. It points away from the sun.
Yeah.
Okay, so wherever the sun is, obviously it points away from it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's C2021A1 or Leonard.
Leonard,
and it will disappear within the next few months. Going to get brighter, or it's heading away from us, right?
It's heading away.
It's Leo to those who know him well.
Yeah. It's going to be a great southern hemisphere object, but we've lost out on it.
Yeah.
What else is up there? Is there still the Atlas comet? Is it come and gone?
There's probably a couple of Atlas comets out there, but most of them are way too dim to see naked eye.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before we talk about the JWST, didn't you send us, or somebody sent a picture of the Parker probe, which is visiting the sun rather close, like 3 million miles? Do we have that picture, Tom Totten?
Well, that's an artist's rendition, of course.
Yeah,
right. It's not the scale.
Yeah.
I don't know how that sucker can send back any radio waves. It seems like it would be drowned in whatever's coming out.
We can see pictures from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had a video showing all the rays hitting the detector. It looked like a meteor shower.
Uh-huh.
But that has to be sent to us by radio waves, doesn't it? The pictures?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How does it overcome that incredible sun outpouring? What is it called?
You pick a frequency that the sun isn't loud in.
Okay. Guess we don't have that picture, Tom.
I'm just calling up something offhand.
Okay.
You also do your work at night.
Now there are other ways to communicate. There are other ways to communicate in space. For example, the Perseverance rover is sending messages in a bottle.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay. But we got a lot going on. We're going to crash into an asteroid. We're visiting the sun. We got Perseverance with its helicopter. What else has been? Christmas Day morning, this end of this week. It's been postponed another 2 days. It's going to be the day after tomorrow being solstice, but Friday morning, Christmas, 4 a.m. here, which would be about 9 or 10 down in French Guiana for the Webb, which there it is, solar wind. That was the word I was looking for. As far as you know, that's the date, or unless there's more postponements. They want to get that right, don't they?
Yeah.
And the thing I learned, you gentlemen probably knew already, is that this sucker is going to be pointed outward away from both Earth and Sun at all time, right?
Mhm.
So that the back of it, the heat shield, that giant flimsy piece of saran wrap they unfold, it's the size of a tennis court, will be what, 180? Yeah, that part will be 187 degrees. The other side will be minus 300 or something. There it is. And I don't expect to get another explanation on the Lagrange thing. I understand it between the sun and the Earth, but out there, is it on an
No, it's
orbit?
on the other side of the Earth.
Yeah.
I know that it is, but
In the Earth's shadow.
Yeah.
I've seen some moving diagrams that shows something like a peanut-shaped orbit that
Yeah.
this sucker will take. How is that? Can you explain that for our Webb? Not quite as skinny as an hourglass, but it comes in.
Yeah. They kind of oscillate around in that Lagrange point.
Well, if it's coming in close, it's not a million miles anymore, is it? Or
No, it's oscillating in a plane perpendicular probably to the Earth-Sun
And
line.
its oscillations are not that big compared to our orbit.
Yeah.
It's oscillating around the Lagrange point.
as the name of our club suggests, the astronomical unit is 93 million miles away. The Webb is going to be 94 million miles away, right? Permanently?
From the sun.
Yeah, it's going to
Roughly.
stay out there.
Yeah.
Here we go. And boy, if any one of several hundred things goes wrong, $10 billion down the tubes, you'd think they'd be able to put together a crew of astronauts, get Bruce Willis again on board, go up and fix it if anything happened, but maybe it'll work.
Well, it won't be a total loss because they've learned a lot building it.
Yeah.
I suppose, but I can't see it. I just can't see it unfolding and keeping the exact hairbreadth concave to those.
That's probably
panels.
a lot easier than unfolding all that mylar for the heat shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, it's going to be on board an Ariane space rocket.
This
And
is an example of advanced origami.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't understand
But
it.
the
What are we looking
telescope
at?
itself, each one of the hexagonal facets has micromanipulators on it. They'll be able to tune it once it gets unfolded.
Oh, is
Right.
that right?
And they sense
Oh, yeah.
each other, they coordinate.
I know it's got shakers, things that shake something. If it won't open all the way, it'll.
Things tend to stick in a vacuum. It's not real smooth. You have, in extreme cases, you have two metals you can put together with nothing between them in a vacuum like space, and they become one piece. You cannot get them apart.
That's
the reason that
one bond to the other one.
That's the reason the gyroscopes had failed in the various spacecraft, because they're in a vacuum and they use metal bearings.
Yeah.
And they stick, and they stick and they pull apart, but it creates the roughness, and after a time they die, and they find out that in later ones they use ceramic balls rather than metal balls to get rid of that problem.
And they use magnetic bearings on occasion too.
Oh yeah,
So that nothing touches each other. It's tricky in space how things react, and they don't behave like they do here at standard temperature and pressure.
Wow. And it can only look away from the Earth. It can't look toward the sun or any of the zodiac signs or the houses.
You could
just have to wait a year.
You
or
could
half
if
a
you
year,
didn't
then you'll
mind.
be looking the other way.
Yeah. Or you could if you didn't mind frying the instruments.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the whole point.
There's too much energy coming from those sources, and it has to maintain the detector at near helium temperatures in order to see in the far infrared.
But it's going to do its own deep field over several months at some point, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
Hubble did. That's
Yep.
going to be awesome to look at, man. Oh, man. Fascinating stuff. Jerry, as we phase out of this, do you mind talking about the progress of the season since solstice is tomorrow? And I think
Let me go down to this.
Axial tilt is the reason for the season.
Yeah.
I got a lot of questions. I learned something that I didn't know. We're facing out of speaking of, the web being pointed away from the sun, we're being pointed out of the galaxy, aren't we, in winter?
Not in winter, but in the spring, March and April, when you look up in the night sky in the springtime. I guess that's still technically winter.
And then 6 months later, you're looking the other way. So
yeah, you're looking out the bottom of the galaxy. So this shows. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wonder why they don't tell the world that. I've never heard that before.
It's all out there. You just got to look for it.
Yeah.
So this shows the spring or the ecliptic, which is the plane of the planets in our solar system.
So that's the yellow line there.
Yeah, the yellow line. Thanks. And the celestial equator here, which is the projection of the Earth's equator onto the sky. And you see the Earth is tilted at, 23.5 degrees?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that is at different times of the orbit. For example, here you see the Earth is tilted with the north hemisphere tipped away from the sun. So the picture that shows there is winter in the northern hemisphere and summer in the southern hemisphere, because the sun is shining directly on the southern hemisphere. So later, 6 months later, the sun will be shining directly above over here. It'll be over here, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it'll be shining on the North Pole, or not the North Pole, the northern hemisphere, and it'll be summer there. And down in the south, it'll be winter in 6 months.
Yeah.
So the sun would be there at the summer solstice when it's summer for the northern hemisphere, and it's winter for the southern hemisphere. So it's too bad that the south doesn't get solstices named after it, but that's the way it is. So
are there some stats as to what percent of the world's population is north of the equator and what's south? I have a feeling it's overwhelmingly north.
Yeah, a large percentage is north.
I have no idea.
We can also ask the question, what percentage of the landmass is north of the equator versus south?
That's absolutely the reason. So Australia, South America, and South Africa are just the only ones getting sunshine right now, right? They're getting summer.
They're getting summer now, yeah. Or at this, right now. So
it says 90% of the population of Earth lives in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that right? Wow.
That must be why it wobbles a bit. Anyway.
Okay, well,
can you go to the next picture right next to that, Tom?
Okay, I got to get the next one. I'm not able to cycle to the next one easily, so I got to close this one and open up the next one.
Okay.
And reshare. Okay.
And just to add some more to that other diagram, the Tropic of Cancer is north of the equator, and that's where the sun can be overhead, the maximum north that the sun can be overhead at any time during the summertime. Right. And then the Tropic of Capricorn is down, 23.5 degrees south, and that's where the sun can be overhead in the south, the southernmost point.
Now this one, thank you, Tom or Chuck. This one shows the celestial equator again, and the ecliptic. This time the ecliptic is tilted, and the celestial equator is flat. But it also adds the galactic equator, which is the equator of the flat disk of our galaxy. And you see that that's tipped from the celestial equator by, or is it from the ecliptic? It's from the ecliptic by 62 degrees.
Yeah. Really?
So it's the north galactic pole does not line up with the north celestial pole, which is where which is where Polaris is. And this is the north ecliptic pole, which is not marked by any star that I know of. But this is the north galactic pole, which is the closest bright star to it is, I think, Arcturus. And so we also get a season, in a sense, of the galactic equator going around that, because at a certain time of our year, the disk of the galaxy is directly overhead, usually in the summer where we can see right toward the core of our galaxy. And then correspondingly in winter, which is now, where we see out to the limb away from the center of the Milky Way going overhead. And that contains things like Orion, the winter constellations. Ironically, this time of the year has the brightest stars in the sky. So, and they're fewer and far between. You don't have the massive star clouds you have in the center of our galaxy. But at the solstices, not the solstices, but in between those times, in the spring and in the fall, you are looking out of the North Pole in the spring of the galaxy, and you're looking out the South Pole of the galaxy in the fall. And so since we're slightly about 200 light years above the disk, we're not exactly in the center of the disk. We have more stars in the springtime, no, in the fall in our sky. We have fewer stars in the North Galactic Pole, and we get a cleaner view of intergalactic space with all of the galactic clusters, like the Virgo cluster, for example, which is, I think, one of the nearest and most famous of that. We also have the local cluster, which is closer to us with Andromeda and M33 and a number of other bright galaxies, but those are scattered all around us because we're in that cluster. So that one, but when you look out the North Galactic Pole area up into the spring sky, you get my favorite objects, which are the galaxies, those faint fuzzies. And you get a clean look at them. Unfortunately, here in Santa Barbara, the spring months are the worst weather we have for overcast. Judging from my 20 years of trying to take pictures of, say, M104, and only getting one evening of good looks at it. We have the
104.
The Sombrero.
Sombrero.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was enthralled by the Sombrero watching the closing titles from
Outer Limits.
Outer Limits. That's it. Yes. And I thought, oh, wow, those are good. And then I've always wanted to take my own pictures of that. We get high winds, we get overcast. I've got it all in a record book. I'm going to call it, when I finish the record books, I'm going to call them the bitter books. So anyway, that's life in Santa Barbara.
well, one side question about this is the two circles, the Arctic at the top, which is totally dark. Would this be the darkest, blackest, longest day of the year for them?
What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean.
Well, when do they get sun at all in the Arctic Circle, since they're in the north and we're in winter?
Oh, go back to the other picture, Tom. That's what he's referring to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
now
hold on.
now they're getting their 24 hours of darkness, Ron, up above the Arctic Circle.
I understand that, and I know how it works, but when do they see the sun? Would that be the spring equinox? The first time the sun rises for them?
They see it a little earlier than that.
Really? Okay, and it's total sunshine all day long in Antarctica.
Yeah.
And I assume there's a circle down there on the bottom that's just as big, same size, everything the
It's not a
same.
dramatic sun is up. It's a sun skirting the horizon.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now there is one place above the Arctic Circle, I think it's in Norway, where they have a big reflector up on the mountaintops and they shine the sun down into the village in the bottom of the galaxy, so people can at least try and get a tan. But
Yeah, there's a valley there where they do that
yeah,
between the
because the
mountains.
sun doesn't come up in that valley, I think, ever.
Really? I'll be damned. Have we all gone across the Tropic of Cancer? I drove across it once. Some of you have probably gone down to Capricorn, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah,
Really?
I've been down to New Zealand, so that's over that.
Oh, yeah.
So I,
Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And we need a parade for the winter solstice. We have a summer solstice parade, which is crazy. We should probably do
Well, in
one.
summer, we celebrate it by staying indoors and burning a tree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, that's good.
there's that village with the mirror. Yep, Norwegian town of Rjukan.
Yeah.
Does it with
Oh, no.
mirrors.
Well, you mentioned in your notes next season, which starts around April, the Virgo cluster is seeable. Is that what we're talking
Yeah.
about in the future or now?
No, about March and April, it'll be in the evening sky. If you want to see it now, you have to get up in the early morning, but it's there too.
Okay,
You just need the constellation Virgo.
gotcha. Yeah, right.
It's got
That's why the Messier Marathon is when it is. It's because you can see all those galaxies that he cataloged in a Virgo cluster.
so
That's
if memory serves me right too, there is a catalog called the Caldwell.
Yes.
Yes.
Caldwell. And that was, I think it was done by this British amateur or astronomer whose last name starts with an M. And
Yeah.
do you remember his full name? Patrick Moore, that's it.
Yes.
More.
And it's his catalog of things, but he didn't want to name it the Moore catalog because then it would have an M number like the Messier
Yeah.
catalog. So he used his middle name and they became the Caldwell catalog.
Right.
wow.
And he was addressing the lack of objects in the southern hemisphere too. So he added more objects down there.
Wow.
Yeah, this is Tom is showing now a seasonal unofficial asterism that's not a recognized constellation, but it's visually noticeable because of all the very bright stars in it, with Sirius down in the lower left being the brightest star in the sky from Earth, the brightest appearing star in the sky. And you can see both this is called the winter hexagon and the winter triangle, which is in dotted lines.
Or the winter circle too sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Winter circle, winter hexagon, winter.
Or winter heptagon if you count Castor.
That's coming up. In
The solid green line is the winter hexagon, and the dotted green line makes up the winter triangle.
Okay. Can they see them from Australia?
Sure.
And you can see the belt of Orion down there listed by its initials, and the legend is in the lower right for the names.
Yeah.
I mean, that's near the projection of our equator in the sky, so the whole world can see that part of the sky pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we tie this into your late addition to your talking points, Mr. President, the unofficial constellations and the asterisms? Is that what we're into now talking about?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's
Okay.
what you're looking at, yeah.
88 recognized International Astronomical Union, I guess, constellations, and a lot more asterisms, more than that?
Oh, tons.
Yeah.
Really? Just anybody that sees something with a little group of stars gets an asterism.
Well, or you can just call it up yourself. I mean, that little quartet of stars I saw when the comet was going by, I could have named it something crazy.
Yeah.
The Gemini twins.
And
If I remember the Caldwell, I've seen a ton of Caldwell objects. They
Harry started calling it the
down.
Wilsons.
Yeah, they come from the north down. So Caldwell 1, I believe, is up near the North Star, if I remember right. I don't know, Tom, if you'd have a chance of calling up Caldwell 1 and its location. I think it's up near the North Star, if I remember right.
There's a galaxy up there called something like Polarissima.
Okay.
Are the three stars in the belt considered an asterism?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do they call it? What is it supposed
belt.
to be? Just the belt.
The belt of the three sisters.
And I learned the names of them: Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka.
Which are pretty much all variations on the belt or the girdle.
Yeah.
Okay.
One quick dumb side question of you gentlemen, if you don't mind my inserting it here. Are most of the bright stars that we see, like the ones that just mentioned, your Vegas, your Rigels, are they in the spur with us?
Yeah,
Are they
thanks,
over-
Tom. That's it. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that one for sure.
What is this from? Wikipedia.
Yeah, this is Caldwell 1 up north.
Right. It's really close to the pole star. Yeah. And you can see it's an open cluster.
It's the kind of spherical open cluster. It's very nice.
Yeah, I've seen it, Jerry, with my 8-inch homemade.
So this is a cluster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, an open cluster.
Open is a little less crowded.
But the Caldwell catalog consists of a number of different kinds of things.
Mhm. It still probably has the shape of its dust cloud that made these stars, and then the stars blew the dust away, and that's what we got left.
Yeah, and I just seem to remember that the Caldwells by number kind of like cascade off the north, you know, as the numbers grow. Caldwell 1, Caldwell 2, Caldwell 3, blah, blah, blah.
You could see there that its declination was plus 85, so it's way up there.
Yeah, you're almost sitting on the pole star.
Lord, what's this? Oh.
Football game.
You know, I got a solicitation from Wikipedia to send them money the other day.
Oh, yeah, we all did.
So did I. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I got something from Jerry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I get those too, right?
I'm always getting those from Jerry. Hey, I'm out of town. Can you send this money or something?
No,
Oh, yeah.
that's from our club email, and that's the easiest hack in the world. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, the guy that does that isn't too bright because he's got the same Gmail address under there that has nothing to do with Jerry's name. And so what I did was I forwarded it to the anti-phishing group at the Federal Trade Commission. And I also I sent it to him saying, hey, you know, Jerry, we're glad to help. And I've forwarded your email to the Federal Trade Commission and they'll be on your problem as soon as possible. And the guy sent it back with a different name showing up, but the same email address going, thanks, you can buy these gift cards at blah, 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 blah.
I've been getting a lot of, the Santa Barbara Theater Organ Society also has a website, and our contact information is there. And I've been getting a lot of emails from somebody's that say, you know, your email is corrupted, and we're going to shut off your email access unless you go here and fill out stuff again. And I just forward that all to either both abuse and phishing report at cox.net. But it doesn't seem they have a shifting return address. It never is the same.
No.
Yeah, I'd like
I block them. So let's go to Tom, go to the other picture that I included in there showing the entire Milky Way.
Oh, the circular thing, huh?
Cool. That's a cool picture.
The Japanese photographer, yeah.
Yeah.
Is your Sombrero galaxy pretty much like the Milky Way? Are we designed pretty much?
No.
It's a very intriguing, with a prominent dust lane, bright core.
It has a much larger nucleus.
Yes.
Yeah. What are we looking at?
This shows the Milky Way, the entire Milky Way, not how it would appear from being above the galaxy, but how it appears from Earth in the sky at night. And you can see the real dense dust clouds up there where Tom is running the cursor along. That's the center of that's when we're looking toward the center of our galaxy right there. And that's in the summertime sky. And then directly across from it is the outer rim of the galaxy, where it's a much less prominent dust lanes and star clouds. And you can see the red loop here of Barnard's loop around Orion. Move the cursor up just a little bit. Yeah. And then over here, there's a much larger hydrogen region up here. I don't know what the name of the whole thing is, but I think this is where the North American Nebula is. Is that right? No, this is in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, I'm going to say Eta Carini.
Yeah, that's it. It's Eta Carina. Because here's the Magellanic Clouds up here.
Yeah.
There's the bright one inside the ring there, right there. And the small one is either that one. Yeah. So that's the south. So if you start up at the top at the 1 o'clock position on this ring, and you make an arc that goes down through the center and then goes off at the 5 o'clock position, that's the part that knocks out the core of the sky that we can't see from here in the northern hemisphere. Those are southern hemisphere objects. So the Magellanic Clouds and the Eta Carina we can't see from here. Yeah, the North American.
Excuse me, gentlemen.
12 o'clock position, you're basically looking at the tail of the scorpion, and you're looking at the teapot.
Yeah.
And you can see the Aborigines in Australia made constellations sort of out of the dark patches. And you can really see the emu there. or the Pipe Nebula, we call it, I think, here, up in the far top.
Yeah, the 12 o'clock or so. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
right at 12 o'clock. You've got a very dark, small region, more to the left, Tom.
Yeah.
There
right
you go.
there. You got it.
It looks like a little pipe, and I think
Looks
the
like a pipe
Aboriginals
with
call that an emu.
Yeah. In some way of looking at it, it looks like a little horse. You can look like a horse. Yeah.
Yeah, and then farther to the left around the ring, you can see what we call the Great Rift.
Yes.
Which looks like stars are missing, but it's not. In the cloud back there, the star cloud is intensely bright. It's just there's a lot of dense dust in front of it that blocks the light. And then farther around at the 9 o'clock position, I think that's the North American Nebula Complex.
That sounds right, Jerry.
What's that?
That sounds right, like up in Cygnus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You've kind of lost your host. Are we looking at a progression thing like either a fisheye lens or a time-lapse photography?
It's kind of like a fisheye lens, but it's a composite picture of the Milky Way as seen from various parts on the Earth at different times, so that you could put a continuous pattern of the Milky Way together.
This would be like having This would be like having two fisheyes if the entire Earth were transparent.
Right.
Having a fisheye above and a fisheye below.
I don't think that's going to help Ron, but it's a good explanation.
Well, it's also what you could see if we didn't have a blue sky. So if you could see the sky,
Oh, yeah.
then
Well, a lot of that you can't see because the Earth, as Chuck pointed out, the Earth has to be transparent to see the third of it.
So this Japanese astronomer had to travel down to New Zealand to get the southern sky.
Yeah. So this is not anything you can see from space anywhere at once.
Right. Okay. You think the James Webb will be pointed at this a lot since it can see through the cloud?
This is our galaxy, Ron. It's not going to be observing our galaxy. It's looking for things far away, although they might point at some things nearby.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to try to find exoplanets.
Well, yeah, but this is pretty hot stuff that we're looking at right now. What they're looking for is real cold stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Back to the beginning of the Big Bang and the first galaxies. But
yeah.
Otherwise, this is that big band, the center of the galaxy stretched around in time as a circle.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
Well, if you photograph the Milky Way at night from any location where you can see it, it's going to look like an arc across the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy has captured arcs like that from different plots on the Earth, and he stitched them all together.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah,
and yet we're sitting halfway out to the edge.
Well, we're a little 2/3 of the way out from the edge, or half. I forget. The galaxy keeps growing in our understanding, so I'm not sure exactly where we are anymore. But I think we're around 6 o'clock. That's looking out.
Yeah. About 30,000 light years from the middle, and the radius would be about 50,000 light years. Roughly.
I think though they keep increasing the radius. It just kind of depends where you define the edge.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that all the dark spots, all the dark patches there are star nursery, star making areas?
Eventually.
Yeah, I'd say that's reasonable.
Whereas the lit up are already stars. There's nothing there to make anything new.
Yeah, these are bright stars shining by their own light. This is not what Webb is looking for. Someday they will find a sign on an asteroid at the edge of the galaxy that says LA city limits. And they'll know where the galaxy ends.
Yeah.
And the reds and the pinks that you see are where there is active star formation right now.
Oh. Okay.
Those are hydrogen 2 regions.
Well, we don't even know if the galaxy has an end. We can't see beyond 13.8 billion light years.
Well, that's the universe, not the
galaxy.
galaxy.
The universe, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes, of course.
Fascinating. I don't recall this picture being sent to us. Did this just come out of somewhere else?
No, it's in the talking points, the updated talking points.
Oh, I missed it then, I guess.
It's one of the updates I gave.
There's one like that was done by either a Swiss or a German astronomer years ago, where he traveled all around the world and stitched together the entire Milky Way, but he did it as just a linear, long rectangular image instead of sweeping it around in a circle.
Yeah, I had that poster over my desk at Santa Barbara Research Center for years.
Yeah, I've got a framed version.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out that on one of Ron's shoulders is the Capsid Nebula.
She's a cutie. She loves me. Yeah.
It would be the Cat's Eyes Nebula.
Yeah.
I hope the cat doesn't walk in front of you, Chuck, or she'll go crazy. She goes
I can see the tail every now and then because Chuck's hand disappears when he pets it.
That's right. It's amazing.
Yeah, I had both the Siamese and the black one up here, but they tend to get filtered out.
Well, my squeaky has to meet your squeaky someday. See if they become friends. You never
That's a
know.
pretty cat. That's a beautiful cat.
Can we talk about December's full moon, a cold moon, and what we can see on there? Something I never heard of before. Busengalt, a big crater, a monster somewhere in the southeast side, lower right, big circle.
Yeah.
It's cool because it's a crater within a crater.
Oh, there's a couple of craters there. Busengalt A and Busengalt K.
Yeah.
Who the hell was Busengalt?
That's outside my French vocabulary. I'm not going to try and pronounce it.
Okay, there we
Anyway,
go.
this picture was taken from a satellite orbiting the moon. I think it was, what is it, Lunar Orbiter 4.
Okay.
So from telescopically from the Earth, this would be very foreshortened.
Why is the winter season important on this viewing?
It's not important from the viewing season. It's that this is near the full moon. So it's right on the rim. It's one of the few things that shows shadows.
Okay, well, that would be a good reason.
Yeah, full moons right now are going to go across the top, near the top of the sky too. There was a beauty coming up. I know it wasn't quite full, but I took a picture of a Saturday one.
Yeah.
You know,
This morning about 7:10 or what, I was out in the front yard and there was quite a bright full moon.
Yeah.
You know, it's not entirely full, so it hadn't set yet. So it was quite high in the east.
I think the full moon was
I mean, in the
Saturday
west.
night.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, in Western. Yeah.
Okay, so the big one came first and then the others, A and K. What happened to B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I? Are there
Well,
other?
that's probably those smaller ones in there, Ron.
Oh,
yeah.
they all get a letter.
Yeah.
And those are more recent, of course.
Yeah.
The little
Gotcha.
dots.
18, let's see, how the only thing you didn't send me was the diameter of the big one, Busengalt itself. I got the smaller craters, 18 miles across for K, and
No,
the
the
other,
big one's 45 miles wide.
No, that's the second crater. That's A.
That's A, yeah.
Yeah, A. What was the one you asked about?
Well, the big one holds them all. That must be a monster. It's almost as big as a Mari, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, I see. You're right. I misread that.
Well, it looks like it's not that much bigger. You know, 45, maybe 65 or 80 for the bigger one. If
I'm
the
not
inner
sure
one's
what-
45.
I think the paragraph may be misleading.
Misleading.
The big one is 45 miles and the smaller one is 18 miles.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
You're talking about the one in the upper right?
Not
No, the one in the
on
middle.
rim. The one
well.
that is, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of the picture, you have quadrants. It's in the
Yeah,
upper right quadrant.
Yes, upper right of the big ones. And then there's one in the upper right of the one we're talking about. That's another subcrater.
The arrow's on it right now. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wonder how many letters of the alphabet are scattered across that sucker. Amazing. Complex terrain, dark shadows because it's on edge. And are we at full moon stage? Is it coming up?
Well, it
We're
was
just
that
past.
Saturday.
Just
Oh,
past.
just past the Saturday.
Mhm.
Well, it's definitely a cold moon and a cold time, and I've never had it this cold in Santa Barbara, California. Let me tell you.
It's 49 degrees outside last night.
Really? Whoa.
That's tropical.
Yeah.
Tropical.
It was
Well, it all
in the
depends.
30s in the mountains here.
We had it 34 degrees at my house a week ago.
Yeah.
What a perfect time for the price of energy to go sky high.
It all
Well,
depends what you get used to, acclimated. Because, you know, when I was doing work in the Arctic, it was really cold. and I'm eating 7,000 calories a day and not gaining weight. And I get home, my wife can't sleep next to me. She says, it's like sleeping next to a furnace. You know, your body's making heat. You get used to it.
Yeah. My daughter
Ellen was from Iowa, and she claimed that it takes a transition time, but then your blood gets thinner when you're in a hot climate and thicker when you're in a cold climate. It's a rural way of saying you adjust and adapt, just what you're saying.
Chuck, 7,000 calories, isn't that the diet of a visigoth?
Oh, that really got my attention. You know, we start off in Barrow, Alaska at the Naval Arctic Research Lab, and they got a big, dining hall there. And the guys that are up there all the time, they come in with these huge metal trays and they just fill them, heaping with food, and they eat them, and they're not fat. Yeah. And that's when you get in the same habit because your body wants the calories.
Yeah.
This is a great view of the phases of Venus here.
Yeah. Yes. So right now, Venus is the third one from the right on the bottom row.
Yeah, about just a crescent. Yeah.
Yes, and it's getting very big. It's bigger than it's about 50 arc seconds across now, or it's bigger than that. I think 60 something. And Jupiter is about 50 arc seconds across normally. So this is actually a better sight right now than Jupiter is. So because of its size and its ease of seeing it at low powers in scopes. If you want to look at Venus, though, you need to look at it during the late afternoon. Avoid the sun, but while the sun is still up or just set, because it shows it's so bright right now that the contrast with a black sky, it blinds your eye. You can't see the shape of it real well. But it's a very dramatic image. And of course, the final, let me make one more comment. The final one on the right is when the planet is directly between the sun and the earth, not exactly in line, because then the sun would be the background, but it goes above or below the sun. And it's a real hard image to get, but someone has done a really good job here. You can see it's not perfectly symmetric in the light, but there used to be a thing that I guess they've decided is not really there called the Ashen Light. Mm-hmm. And when the Venus looks like this with a dark thing, some people were seeing visually a brighter center in it, like the light was focused around by the atmosphere or something. And so when I was a kid starting out in astronomy, amateur astronomy, we were always wondering if that was a real thing or not. I think it's been settled that it's not a real effect.
Yeah, I think that's been dismissed, Jerry.
Yeah.
Coming up in early January, I think on the 8th, Venus is actually going to be closer to us than any planet has been in the last 100 years.
Really?
It's only going to be like 0.27 AUs away.
Wow.
Which is how many million miles?
30 million miles.
Last night I looked out at the night sky and there was a very bright star that was low in the west. And I thought it was Jupiter, but you're saying that was probably Venus.
Well, Venus early in the evening.
Yeah.
But, it was about 6 o'clock.
Okay, yeah, that's Venus probably.
Venus.
So we see a brighter Venus on this side when it's only a thin crescent than we do as a full.
Yes.
On the other side. Well, now, Jerry, you said some interesting something. I want to bring in Leonard for a second here. Apparently, we may be able to see this. I've never heard of this before. Meteors on other planets.
Well, this was a couple of days ago.
Sent a very nice paper to me. He can tell you about it.
Well, this was a couple of days ago when the tail, basically Venus passed through the tail of Comet Leonard. And so various astronomers around the world were going to try to see if they could see a meteor shower happen on Venus.
Oh, wow.
It's not something you're going to see going out with binoculars, or with a small telescope, but they were going to try to detect if there were any fireballs in the Venusian atmosphere, because it's a very thick atmosphere.
Yeah.
You get the fireballs, at high altitude. And they were going to be
black holes like you saw with Schumacher-Levy and Jupiter then.
Yeah, I don't know if they think these chunks are big enough to do something fantastic like that.
Most of the disk we see of Venus right now is dark. So we would see a fireball against a dark background.
Okay, certainly.
Don't you need oxygen in the atmosphere to make fireballs?
No, it's just heat. It glows by heat.
Just heat.
Yeah, it's not an oxidation reaction.
So this could be a yearly event for Venusians. They'll be
It's
going
happened
through the
before,
Olympian.
but it's happened before, but people have never been able to actually see a meteor on Venus.
Now,
I
now
did-
they had a case a couple of years ago where a comet came close to Mars, and they actually detected some Martian fireballs from that with one of the rovers.
Yeah.
But we couldn't see him from Earth.
No.
No.
Well, we could see it from Earth after they sent the pictures from the rover.
Yeah.
Before we get off for the day, let's go to the bottom one. Merry Christmas.
I read that earlier, and it's pretty. You want me to read it? It says, "Happy Merry Christmas, Happy Chanukah." What's the difference between Chanukah and Hanukkah?
They're different spellings of a non-English word.
Same thing. All right. Happy holidays, season's greetings, or whatever. And the Xmas tree cluster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where
that's
is that?
pretty.
Okay.
Very nice. Yeah, it's in Monteciros. That dust cloud on the bottom, they're sometimes called the maiden, Marian child.
Yeah. Or the Cone Nebula.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And here the Christmas tree cluster is upside down.
It is.
Yeah, it's
And this
rarely
is
do
a,
you see it right side up. It's always
Yeah.
tilted one way or another.
Well, just turn, yeah, there. Thank you, Tom.
To me, I always thought the Christmas tree cluster, at least the one I would show the folks through the 8-inch at Westmont, was 103.
Yeah, that's
M103.
yeah.
That's
know.
that's up in like Cassiopeia, right? Or somewhere
Yeah,
up there.
that's right, Chuck.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
It's
So I
a
would show
smaller
this
structure.
here
with
because it's
dimmer
around
stars.
Christmas. I don't know, Tom, if you can get Messiah 103.
This is the issue with these unofficial names. When people,
Yeah.
things have like the Christmas tree cluster or the Crab Nebula, those are not recognized names. Those are just popular names. And
Sure.
I've been in this hobby so long, people forget the name of one generation and they rename it later.
but this is not a new asterism. It's not even an asterism you can see with the naked eye, is it?
That's
No.
correct.
You need
It's a telescope asterism.
So
Here's M103.
Oh,
Messian
thank you,
M103.
Tom. See, that looks like the angel on top of a Christmas tree. No,
It's
No.
it's a little
that's the one I show at Westmont all the time. The 8.
it's a little harder to see when it shows so many of the dim stars in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's easier to see. Yeah, you're right.
there's a bright yellow one in the middle. What's that?
Red giant.
Really? Bright yellow with a red giant. Okay.
This
And
one
then-
shows all the popcorn too.
Waiting to be open.
You know, there's a question from Jim Williams. He tuned in and he
Uh-huh.
says, going back to the moon craters, he says, what does the ice in the craters taste like?
Slush.
Well, you can't open your spacesuit to taste it.
Yeah.
Tastes like
I
cheese.
guess like a moon pie, right, Chuck?
Yeah, I think that's a punchline waiting for a joke.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
What do you foresee for the future of us on screen other than these Monday get-togethers, Mr. President? You think we'll probably have another, this time, second Saturday of the month of January business meeting?
Yeah, we're gonna try to have the business meeting every month from now on. I'm gonna try and get Colin to remember to join in.
Okay,
And,
that would be
there
neat.
was someone else that we missed.
Art Harris, and
Yeah.
newsletter guy. Yeah.
Oh, is that me?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, Jerry, it's that happy time again article.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I miss a dear couple, Martin and Janet Meza. I wish we could pull our funds and buy them get them online, get them a little laptop or something.
Yeah,
It
I
was
saw
Will
them.
the newsletter go out before Christmas?
I saw them several times in the fall at the Miramar outreach. They were there several times that I saw them.
Yeah, they had a computer and it was set up, and for a while they had access, but they're not real computer savvy, and it just ended up dying on them, and they never got it fixed. So
I think they'd love this, and they're very sweet people. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Very
Oh, they're
supportive.
fabulous. fabulous.
Always
In
there.
fact, the one I remember was when I showed up at Miramar, I had a little refractor, and then he made a special trip to bring a like a little stool for little kids to look through the eyepiece. It's really nice of him.
Right.
And they're taking care of, I think, at least 3 of their friends and colleagues who are ill. I mean, they are always doing good things.
I think Martin was one of the first to get a touch of the disease, and then he's over it now. He's
Yeah.
okay, right?
That was a while ago, yeah.
Long
I
time,
see.
very the beginning. Well, if we could work something out.
So Tom, Whittemore,
Yeah.
is the newsletter going to come out before Christmas?
Well, the newsletter before Christmas?
Yeah.
It would be this week.
Oh, well, no. I mean, the old fashioned deadline was Chuck would always send me outreach on around the 20th.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So
So
I just start patching things together so that it's,
okay.
in people's hands before the first of the next month.
Okay, so it's not going to come out before Christmas.
Oh,
I was just going to have you
no,
clip.
Jerry, that's fine.
No. I was just going to have you clip the last 3 paragraphs of the talking points
Oh,
as my article, but you have to attribute it to Astronomy magazine because I didn't write it.
okay.
Give me the
Well,
extra.
that picture of the Bernard's loop that you have in there, it's about a quarter of the way down. Looks like the one that Rogelio Bernal Andreo put out.
Oh, that cartoon, that 3-part
No,
cartoon.
no, the Bernard's loop and Orion and
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't recall an attribution or citation to that. I usually try and catch it.
Uh-huh.
But I
Well, this
forget
thing
it was
I've seen a number of
Wikipedia or
times.
something. Yeah,
it's very difficult. I mean, in the telescope, this has to be multiple exposures over multiple range of exposure to get all this stuff in there, especially
Yeah,
the hydrogen loop, the Bernard's loop.
yeah. It's up to his quality. It's very, very nicely processed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
Tom,
got the
when
Witch Head Nebula and everything.
you see the horse head,
Yeah.
you see the horse head there.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
certainly. Yes, you sure do.
Yeah,
Where?
B33, Barnard 33.
Yeah. That's a dramatic picture. You can see the great nebula down there too.
Yeah, that's incredible.
A running man.
this is all
The
Right
flame.
next to the Horsehead, you can see the Flame Nebula too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best picture of that region I've ever seen.
Yeah,
The masterful print.
it's unbelievable.
This is all part of Orion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't see that in my 85 millimeter.
Amazing.
No, your eye will never pick this up in any scope.
Well, I saw pink on the screen of Chuck's incredible piece as a telescope one night at the Star Party. I'd
Yeah.
never seen pink before. And
Hydrogen.
That's using a camera, Ron, so that's cheating a little bit.
oh, false colors.
Well, it's not false, but it's just so dim your eye wouldn't detect it.
Yeah.
And we don't see color in dim light.
No.
So much we've learned about infrared and stretching of the light waves, and that's why we can't see those galaxies on the other side, but the Webb will be able to do it. I guess we're all going to get up early and try to watch that blast off. Or they're going to
Probably
televise.
not.
Probably,
It's the middle of the night for us, isn't it?
I don't know.
It's
No,
not going to
you're
be
talking about-
visual.
Yeah,
4 a.m. Pacific time?
Oh, is it?
yeah, it's coming from the east or northeast coast of South America.
Yeah. French
We're
Guiana.
not going to see anything here.
Tom Totten, did you get that belated after the fact submission or Jerry Wilson forward of the 3 parts of math on a grid? Something was Xmas.
Oh,
I
the
thought that was
Christmas trees.
interesting.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Cartesian.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Cartesian Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Cartesian.
good.
What's the Cartesian mean? I missed that part. I know
He's a
what
Frenchman, but
Oh, incidentally, a week ago Thursday, I meant to
No.
actually last Thursday,
Ron.
gentlemen, I ran into a young man at Farmer Boy came in. There it is. Xmas tree, Ymas tree, and Zmas tree
yeah.
on the grid. Anyway, I wanted to tell you before we leave that the young predecessor of mine, Adrian, what is his last name? Lopez?
Adrian Lopez.
Uh-huh.
Came by the Farmer Boy and said hi. Had 4 friends from Caltech with him, and he's up here on holiday and wanted to know what we were doing. And I invited him to tune in. Maybe he's out there. He's still here, as far as I know. They had a long lunch, all 4 of them. A couple people from India.
Probably a senior by now, right?
He said he was
Getting
doing
up
well.
there.
I didn't get a chance to talk to him much. But he
Okay.
was talked through a mask, and they took over the back booth at the Farmer Boy, and his 3 friends were all just, I'd love to interview him. Young, fascinating stuff. We're down to the wire. We've done it. We will do it again with number 44 next week. There goes my cat. Thank you, gentlemen. Take care of your wives. Happy holidays, Chanukah, everything else. And we'll see you for number 44 on Monday, the 7th, 28th, somewhere in there, a week from today. Who the heck is that?
It's Descartes.
That's
Descartes.
René.
René
Oh,
Descartes.
that's the guy.
Descartes for Cartesian.
Oh, that Descartes. Okay, I know.
Just don't put the cart before the horse.
All right. Thanks for being who you are, and we'll get together again. And remember, the 4th of February, we're going to do a club meeting. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ron.